Now you're welcome along. This is Paddy Power Special this afternoon on the show, with thanks to Paddy's week-long session, a monster rollover of betting specials just for Ireland. For information on responsible gambling, you can visit gamblingcare.ie or dunlewy.net, dunlewey.net. Our guest this evening is Jermaine Pennant, who I'm sure you'll all know. 350 professional appearances, a Notts County debut at 15. He signed for Arsenal for £2 million at the age of 15. Thank you very much. Arsenal debut at 16, then a record. Played obviously in a Champions League final with Liverpool in 07 as well. Jermaine, you're very welcome. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. How has this rather strange year been for you? What have you been up to?
It's been quite easy for me. It's a lot of golf, really. Still can go to work, talk sport and other shows, so it's not really affecting me too bad. But it's not great.
Yeah, not ideal. Hopefully we're at the other end of it soon. So you've caught the golf bug. A lot of former pros do. That keeps the competitive juices going, does it?
Yeah, I've had the golf bug for years now, so it's disappeared. I love my golf. We've got football as well that we're trying to get out at least once a week. But obviously the current climate, it's been a bit difficult recently.
How have you found media?
I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. It's something that I'm trying to push a little bit more. And obviously my insight of playing as well, my background and the teams that I've played for, players I've played with. I feel I've got a good, some good stories to share. And yeah, I love being in front of the camera. I love talking about the game and keeping.
Just reading about you again this morning took me back to, I guess, my own teenage years. We're not a dissimilar age. I think there might be a year or so between it. But even I remember, like, back in the, the days of buying Match magazines or whatever it was, like, you were such hot property as a teenager. There was kind of, Joe Cole came through, everybody knew his name. Michael Owen sort of exploded onto the scene. And then there was you, you were the next big thing that even the likes of a Match magazine were talking about before you'd even made your debut. Were you aware of that at 13, 14, Notts County debut, 15? Did you know, even, I don't know, playing with England schoolboys, that you were about the best player, it seemed, of your generation at that time?
I knew, I knew I was one of the top players in my generation. And obviously, playing in my local Nottinghamshire county, there was, scouts watching, which I got told of, from 13 to 14 all the way up to 15. There was at the time, I think it was Man U, Liverpool, and Arsenal and Spurs and possibly Everton. So I knew there was teams keeping tabs on me. But you don't let that kind of, at that age, you don't really think too much into it. You just want to play football and play with your friends and play with your mates after school. You're not really, you don't really take it serious until you get a little bit older. So I did know there was, a fuss when I was playing football and about my football ability.
Notts County debut at 15, and then the Arsenal move happens, as I mentioned, for £2 million for a 15-year-old. Came as a bit of a surprise to you, I understand.
Yeah, it did. It came as a big surprise. I think probably a couple of months before that, we got offered a contract, a professional contract at Notts County, and my dad turned it down. And then, out of nowhere, I'm getting shipped off to Arsenal. But I couldn't really say no because it was more I was a school kid, so it was up to my parents at the time to kind of make the decision for me. And how do you turn down Arsenal? At the time, a massive club, one of the biggest clubs in Europe at the time. So yeah, it was a great moment. But I feel, looking back, maybe I should have stayed a little bit longer in my hometown in Notts County and developed a little bit more.
Now, sorry about that. Microphone fixed. We're back here still with Jermaine Pennant. So yeah, look, I can. It's a hell of a move to London. 15 years of age, pressure, hype, fame, money, all of that kind of stuff. That's a cocktail. In so much as you're comfortable talking about, I know you've written a very honest book. Your childhood, it's not a stable one. It's not an easy one. It's very, very difficult. When you know your background, it makes the move to London seem even more drastic and more difficult for you to have been able to try and take in your stride. You might just give us a sense of the first 15 odd years.
Yeah, obviously growing up was very tough. I was from a low background, a tough background. You know, we lived on a council estate, and there's a lot of crime, a lot of drugs, and gang kind of warfare. So yeah, it was difficult, but you know, growing up in that, you don't know any different. Father tried his best. Friends always kept me at arm's length if there was trouble around, because they knew of my talent, and you know, there was a way of getting out. And obviously then moving to London, you know, I did for the first, 6 months, probably 9 months, I was definitely homesick, and I would come home every weekend to see friends and family. But as I got older, I started to settle in more in London, and then hopefully, I tried to make my career take off as best as possible.
What was home life like? How was your dad spending his days? What was the kind of general flow of your average day as a teenager, early teenager, or 8, 9, 10 years
well,
of age?
It would be just the norm, really. I would be, go to school, then play out with your mates. It would be, going to the youth club. I'd always have a football, no matter where I went. If it was to the shop, anywhere I'd go, a football would be in the house, neighbours, doors, fences, the lot. So yeah, it was to me it was a normal childhood. Obviously, playing out with friends in school and whatnot. But obviously, the other side of it was, the drugs, the crime, the gangs, and seeing that kind of happen around you. But like I said, if you've grown up with that, you see it as the norm. But obviously, it's not the norm for the normal person. It's not normal, but not knowing any different, because that's what I was growing to.
Yeah. In hindsight then, when you look back, how equipped was the 15-year-old you going to London?
Very quick. I had to grow up kind of, London's a very big place and it can swallow you if you let it. So I had to grow up kind of quickly. I've really, growing up in my early years, kind of looked after myself to a certain degree. So I probably had that on my side to a certain point. But yeah, I did have people in London some families, so I wasn't totally alone.
Right.
So obviously that helped. But, towards getting to about 17, 18, I had my own apartment.
Okay. And how was Wenger in all of this? Was he very involved in your life and checking in on you, or was it a bit more, listen, do your own thing, kid?
No, I wouldn't say he was checking in, because I was still, at that point, I joined Arsenal. I was with the youth team then. So it would be more the Liam Brady would be kind of, looking over me more than Arsene. It would be that kind of, because he was the head of recruitment, head of the youth policy. So it would have been Liam Brady who really had hands-on with me. Any detail, it would be Liam Brady. Any trouble, it would be Liam Brady. It would be talking to me and giving me a stern telling off. But at the same time, he was a softie as well. And I'm very grateful for what he did for my career at Arsenal, and, always had my corner, when I did come off the rails. And obviously then when you get to a first team, it's more, you've got to deal with Arsene.
Liam Brady's obviously a big figure over here. I mean, legendary Arsenal player, as you obviously know, but big figure in Irish football as well. Such a brilliant player.
Yeah.
Was he helping you out with your game in specific ways, showing you, how he wanted you to play, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, he was obviously just telling me to be, at times, more positive, express. He was, he knew my ability, and sometimes he would point me in the right direction. But then you also had the coaches as well. You had Don Howe.
Okay.
He was a fantastic coach. Rest in peace. Don Howe, he was a legend at Arsenal, and he was a great coach, and I learned a lot from him as well. But like I said, Liam Brady would always be watching the games, all the games, the youth team games we played in. He would always give advice as best he could. So, I always took it on board, always listened to him, because I know what of a legend he is, what a great player he was. He was a similar player on the left with his left foot. So, It was great to have them kind of people around me. Hence why I probably got to where I have, because of the nurturing that I had at Arsenal with the fantastic coaches we've done now, Liam Brady, Arsene Wenger, Pat Rice. So, yeah.
So you're trying to break into a pretty special team, obviously, once you start training with the senior team. This is like Invincibles territory. So, look, that's not going to be easy. How did you find that step up? How did you find training with them? How did you find that period?
The step up, training with them was fine. I knew my ability, and Arsene wouldn't let me be in the first team change or be in the squad if he didn't feel I was up to the job. So, obviously, it's a big step up from the youth team and what you're playing. And yeah, playing with the likes of Patrick Vieira, Thierry, Paula, Lundberg, Perez, it's always going to be a big jump. But, my ability, got me there. And, I didn't look out of place for sure when I was there. But yeah, it was hard. Sometimes it was daunting because you're playing against such, big legends and figures. And, you don't really want to mess up, I should say, or do anything bad. You try and always be on your best, especially behaviour with Patrick Vieira around. So yeah, it was great, and you're only going to learn and get better by playing and training with players like that.
So if you're not pulling your weight in training, Vieira would have been on to you. Is that how it tended to work then?
Oh yeah, if you're not pulling your weight, Big Pat would have a word with you. I think at the time when I was, in the squad, Tony Adams was the captain.
Right.
So you had a lot of big personalities that would, point fingers if you wasn't, training well or your attitude was off. So you had to, every day in training was like, a test. It wasn't, oh yeah, we're just going training today. It was, I've got to work, I've got to do hard. Not only to impress the boss, but to impress, the likes of Tony and Patrick and Martin Kieran, because they've got Lee Dixon, they've got a big say in things, and Arsene did trust them as much as they trusted Arsene.
Your debut's a bit nuts, where you score a hat-trick, that one, not least because you're out till 6 a.m. drinking at an FHM party. I mean, geez.
Yeah, I didn't plan on playing. I had no idea I was going to start or even play. So.
What age were you then?
I think I was 21.
Okay.
21, yeah.
Okay, so you're out till 6, and then you find out, oh no, I'm starting. Nightmare.
Absolute nightmare. Yeah, he pulled so I turned up at the hotel at 11:30. We have a bit of food, and then he does his team meeting, and then when he pulls the blackboard down, the paper, and the squad's already written out. See, I thought he said Parler at first on the right-hand side, but he said Pennant. So I done a double take, and then when I realised it was my name, my heart just sank to my stomach. I was like, no, what have I done? And I was saying to myself, I've ruined my career. How am I going to play? I'm not going to play good. I'm still hungover. I feel like crap. And I just don't know. I thought to myself, look, just get through 15 minutes and then, just say your hamstring's gone and get yourself off. But it did turn out like that. In fact, it turned total opposite.
Ridiculous, really. So how good, bad, indifferent a professional were you during this period? Like football is definitely changing, if not changed a lot since the 90s at that stage. Diets changed, alcohol's changed.
Yeah.
Tony Adams gone through his own kind of massive change very publicly and very bravely. Yeah. So what kind of a pro were you? Like, are we talking out most of the time, drinking a lot of the time, or what was the approach?
No, not at all. Not at all. If I had a game, I would, prepare as a professional should. Right. It was just this one incident.
Yeah.
I thought, there's a party, it was a good one. I didn't want to miss it, and I thought, I'm not going to play. So, I made a wrong judgment call. But usually, even in reserves or the youth team, it would be, at home on the Friday and preparing well for the game and, getting, the right food in, the carbs before the game. And yeah, but I wouldn't really go out during the week. And, if we had the Sunday off, and then when you're young, the boys would go out and, why not? As long as you've got a day off, there's no wrong in doing that. But I wouldn't say my professional was bad.
Right.
If I'd go out if we had days off, or if I know I wasn't playing and I went in the squad, then yeah, but I wouldn't do it when I know I had an important game or a game.
Okay, so would it be wrong of me to, from afar, I think that a lack of professionalism was the reason the breakthrough at Arsenal didn't happen? That isn't what happened in your view?
No, I don't think it was like a professional at all. I think it was, back then there wasn't many in the league, young English players getting a chance. It was kind of not unheard of young talent coming through. It was, a lot of foreign boys or established English players. Teams didn't really do that. And me being at the Invincibles, when you've got the likes of Parler ahead of you, Longberg, and you've got on the other side Perez and Overmars, it was always going to be difficult. If it was this era now where you see teams fielding a lot of young English players, like for instance Arsenal now, they've got a lot of young English talent which are getting a chance. But I can tell you now, if this team, Arsenal talent, tried to break in the Invincible era, it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened. So I won't say it was a lack of professionalism because,
right.
I've had the conversation with Arsenal and they were saying you're doing well and keep going. But it's just English players wasn't getting that chance at that time, especially young ones. And the team that was in front of me was remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to remember. I mean, Rooney certainly got his chance. United gave young English talent their chance. But I do take your point about how good that Arsenal team was.
Yeah.
That's not easy to break into.
Yeah, obviously, Everton got his chance. Rooney got a chance at Everton, but the contrasting teams then, Everton and Arsenal was huge. Maybe if I was at a lesser,
Sure.
a lesser team maybe, but I got an earlier chance. And being there since 16 and then not getting my chance until I was 21 probably did take its toll on me. And, I was getting a lot of frustration. I went out on loan multiple times, done well, came back and still didn't get my chance. So frustration did kick in. And then, maybe my attitude in training sometimes would be off because I was frustrated and I didn't know how to deal with it.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Yeah. So, 5 years, when you put it like that, it's a long time kicking your heels. Were you happy enough then to make a move away properly to try and get some game time?
I thoroughly enjoyed going on loan. First one was Watford, on 2 occasions, and the third was Leeds for the full year in the Premier League, and it was fantastic. And then to go back to Arsenal, and then to be in the back seat again, after having the taste of the Premier League, playing week in, week out, being a kind of a star player at Leeds United at the time as well. It was hard. And then, that's when the attitude and the frustration started kicking and started sulking rather than being, running out there and trying hard. I started to sulk because all I wanted to do was play. There's a lot of factors that probably hindered my time at Arsenal.
Yeah. So what's a Jermaine Pennant sulk then? Go out, long face on you, kick a few balls away, that kind of stuff?
No, it's funny, just sulking, just not give it probably 100% in training because I know I'm not involved in the squad or I'm not going to be playing. So I'm thinking, what's the point? Why am I bothering? Why am I here? That kind of attitude and childish. I was young, and I just thought I'm not getting my chance. So I just thought I was going through the motions.
It seems Steve Bruce managed to get a tune out of you and seemed to connect with you, and you played some of your best stuff with him. I think you had 36 and then 38 Premier League appearances in 2 of the 3 years there, and it got you to move to Liverpool. So a place like Birmingham seemed to suit you.
Yeah, it did. Well, Steve Bruce, I'll always take my hat off to him. I think is a fantastic guy and a great manager. And the thing about with Steve, he played me every week, no matter how I was, any misdemeanors or any stories in the paper, or if I did anything wrong, he would put me on the team sheet because he knew I'd give him 110%, where it mattered on the pitch, where he needed me most. So he always believed in me, and I always thought, I'm going to repay him on the pitch. Sometimes in training, sometimes you're not feeling great and you're not performing fantastic. And, some managers will look at that and not play you just because you didn't have a great training session or a couple of great training sessions. Sometimes, things go on in your life where, you're not on song, you're not 100%, but when it comes match day, you are. And I feel that's where it matters. And that's where Steve saw me where it matters. If I wasn't performing on the pitch, then maybe, he wouldn't have picked me as much as he did, but I did perform for him, and I was one of his top performers, and I'm very grateful for that. And that's, I feel, with me, I think that's what got the best out of me, rather than kind of punishing me. He believed in me and put his arm around me when I thought, okay, I'll give you 110% on the pitch.
How often were the misdemeanours? How often was Steve Bruce having to go, oh, geez, Jermaine, look what's in the papers today?
No, not often. It was probably, a handful of times over the years, but it wasn't, like I said, I was never a bad apple in the changing room. I was never bad around the ground. I was always a joker. I was always, putting smiles on people's faces. I was never, one of them players where you don't get him in your team because he would disrupt it.
Yeah.
I've never been like that. It was just, probably being spotted coming out of a nightclub at 3 a.m. where you're supposed to be a role model and a professional, them kind of stories. But, I was young. If we had a day off, like I said, I would go out. Obviously, it's changed now because there's a lot more spotlight. There's camera phones, there's social media, where it wasn't that as bad in my time as bad. So obviously, now people have got to be very careful, where back then I was just obviously coming from where I came from. I just saw myself as another human being, but just played football. And obviously I made headlines more than others.
Yeah. So, it's amazing how much it has changed in terms of players coming out of nightclubs, and just even alcohol is a thing which is the players, most of them don't even seem to drink these days. It's amazing the change which has happened. So, like, if, for instance, I guess a point where it looked like your career could be in major trouble was the drink driving situation in February 04, and then January, when you were still serving the ban from 04, you got caught again, and it was jail time, and it was electronic tag on the pitch and those photos. What was going on in your life then that you were getting caught up in such stupid situations, considering you had the winning lottery ticket to life, to be risking it all? What was going on in your life then, Jermaine?
Again, that was the first two times was when I was at Arsenal, and it was on the last one after I before I got the time was I went on loan to Birmingham, and when I came out I got sold to Birmingham. Right. And it was a build-up again of a lot of frustration of not being able to play. People don't understand the effect that it has on players when, you want to showcase your craft and you can't do it. You're not getting that opportunity, and after time it builds up, and you think sod it, and you make decisions that you wouldn't do if you was playing on a regular basis or you was involved. Hence, you get yourself into trouble, and emotionally and mentally, it's hard sometimes to deal with when you're not being able to play football. When that's all I've known, and that's all I wanted to do, and that's what I thought I was great at. So, and not having, the right people around you as well, also plays a factor. I didn't have my family, so, I didn't have really anyone to stop me from making these bad decisions when I was frustrated and lonely and upset. And obviously, like I said, you go out, you want to just, people deal with things certain ways to get over things. I dealt with it by going out with friends and, not thinking about it and having a good time. And obviously, remotely, that got me into trouble.
And is there anyone, maybe it's Bruce, maybe it's someone at Arsenal, I don't know, does anyone sit you down and say, here, listen, well, one, like, obviously, and I know you've said this in the past, so I'm, this is a really dumb thing to do, like you're endangering other people. It's a really serious thing to do. People have lost loved ones because of drink driving. So there's that. Yeah. But also, like, dude, you're throwing this away. You've got to get a hold of yourself here. Does anyone try and have that chat with you?
No, not really.
I find that insane. Like, if it was today, like, honestly, you'd be put in therapy. Like, it'd be a real, the club would get around you, I think, in a massive way. Yeah,
I feel now there's more of that. There's definitely more of that now in mental health, because that's more, that's came to the light of the game in males, and it's spoke about a lot more now, and I feel now clubs do have people and therapists who the players can speak to if things ain't going well. But back then it wasn't really heard of, wasn't really spoken of. Right. Once you leave the training ground and the game, you basically you're on your own. So, like I said, the game's evolved in many, many different ways. Like I said, with fitness, with food, with therapists, with people at the ground, the way they look after the players now. But back then it was a little bit, distant. So it was more to deal. You had to deal with it on your own.
Mm. I saw in your book you had the line MX7232. I don't think I'll ever forget it. Prison did change me. What is the experience of going into prison as a Premier League footballer? I mean, not easy, I would think. Terrifying, I would think.
No, yeah, it was terrifying because I had no idea what was awaiting me. You watch your films and you have
it's not good.
You judge it on that.
Yeah,
it's not good. No, but it's a lack of you feel your freedom's gone when it has gone, and you just the little things that you used to take for granted, come straight to the forefront of your mind, and you're sitting there telling yourself, "What an idiot! What have you done?" Mm. You're in a great position, and why? You start asking questions, why, and then I when I was there, I was writing letters to people, to friends, to family, to people who I've upset, and you have a lot of time and a lot of thoughts run through your head, and it's a very lonely place, and I wish it upon no one to go through that. So it's not a thing that I'd like to revisit.
No, I can imagine.
Put it that way.
Yeah, I can imagine. So what was in the letters? Apologising?
It was just, because I know, my family and my grandma was upset, very upset with the news, and, she's old, and so I wrote my grandma just, apologising and tell her to stay strong and don't worry, everything will be fine, just to reassurance. My partner at the time, she obviously going to have to go through hell with the press and her hearing that. So, fans were writing in and I was writing back. Like I said, it was just you get a lot of time to yourself. So you do, a lot of things come to the forefront in your mind, the things that you used to take for granted.
How were the fellow inmates with you?
They're fine. I think I was in the press for a full week, every single day, front and back pages. So there was all coming up to me asking for autographs, to sign the newspapers, which I thought was, a bit weird. I thought, well, that is what it is. And I guess that they're not used to, my caliber of people going in there and seeing them. They're used to the proper criminals and whatnot. So I guess it was a shock to them as much as it was for me.
What effect do you think it had on you as a person, the whole experience?
Obviously, it definitely made me grow up and appreciate things more, for sure. Like I said, being in there, you do think about a lot of things, and even small things that we take for granted in life. It definitely made me think about that more, and wanting to come out and cherish my career and try and do the best I could, and I did. I came out, done well at Birmingham, and got my move to my dream club, which not many people say that they've lived one of their dreams.
Yeah, and I mean that is a hell of an achievement, because bloody hell, you were odds against it around 2005 of that happening. Given everything you were going through. So Birmingham, it goes well. You talked about the influence Steve Bruce had on you. Were you in any way tempted to turn down Liverpool because I had a good thing going here at Birmingham, or was it like, as soon as the offer comes in, I'm gone?
No. Yeah, as soon as I heard about the offer, then it was my boyhood team. It's the team that I supported growing up as a kid.
Right.
And there was no chance I could turn that down. I even turned down a move when I was at Arsenal to Everton because I wanted to play for Liverpool.
Right.
And my agent said, if you do play for Everton, you won't be able to play for Liverpool. So, when that chance did come, I was thrilled and over the moon.
First season seemed to go really well. Played lots of games, Champions League final. How was Rafa Benitez?
I mean, it was totally different to Steve Bruce, put it that way.
A more distant manager,
really,
I think.
Yeah, he's a distant manager. He's not a manager you can go up to, really, and feel like you can knock on his door and have a heart-to-heart. He keeps himself to himself, and, his attributes are more on the pitch, tactics, stuff like that. But I wouldn't say he's the best manager I've had. And I feel maybe he could have possibly sat me down and, spoke more what he wanted, you know, because there was time when I wasn't playing, I was getting frustrated, but he gave me no reason or no idea why. And I feel like I should have been playing. The reason why the second season I didn't really play too many games was because after the Champions League final, I had a stress fracture in my shin, and we had surgery and I was out for 3 months, and then kind of came back in January, which we rushed it a little bit, a game against Wigan. And then ever since then, it was kind of hard to get back in.
Right. It wouldn't strike me Benitez's football at Liverpool as the most exciting brand of football. How did a player like you find it?
What's that? You don't feel it was the most exciting?
Yeah, just more of a defensive slant to it than an all-out attacking slant. Like, obviously, there's great attacking players and they scored goals, obviously, but, like, I'm sure you were doing your fair share of tracking back.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I feel when I was playing for him at times, on his side especially, he was more controlling me, telling me where to run, where to go, where to pass, where, you know, I said a quote in the paper that sometimes it felt like I was a robot, because he was telling me, you know, what to do, how to do it, rather than let me express my skill and do what I do and influence the game. And then obviously when I told the press that, they put us a story out, my face on Robocop's body. And said, yeah, which didn't go down too well.
No kidding. Sorry, I didn't realize you'd said that when you were still a player for Rafa.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah, to Rafa. Sorry, and
well, that's game over.
Yeah, but no, I said like sometimes I just want to be expressive. I'm you know, I'm an attacking player.
Yeah.
I don't want to, you know, I get giving me instructions, but when I've got the ball, don't be telling me where to pass, how to pass it. You know, I see the game, and you know that's that. So it was a little bit frustrating. Like some of the players, you say, I can't wait till second half when he's not on my side.
I can see for a player like you who might sense, well, I've got the beating of this player in front of me and I want to take him on because I can sense, you know, body shapes and the way it's laid out in front of me. This is the right thing to do. And yet if you're being told, well, I have to pass into that channel, that's not going to really sit well with a player like you. You know, it's not that one's wrong, one's right. Like Rafa was very successful.
Yeah,
but it's different styles for sure.
Yeah, and I get it. Look, sometimes he might see something that we can't because we're focusing on the ball and the game and the man, and he's got a bigger picture because he don't have to worry about where the ball is going to get passed to. So he can, I get it. He sees more of that. But not, you know, every single time I get the ball, I'm hearing Rafa shouting in my ear roll, and I just thought, just let me play sometimes. Just let me, you know, if I've got to beat another man, you don't worry about anything else apart from me getting past this guy, which, you know, most times it works. But, you know, just a sense of freedom. That's all it was. And, yeah, you know, it's Rafa for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like the theme across your career is if you're not playing football, frustration kicks in very, very quickly and you start doing silly things and you just get unhappy, it gets on top of you. So
that's 100%.
You never quite get around, you never quite get past that. Like, you're still the same as the 19-year-old who's frustrated even in your late 20s. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's only to my later stages of my career where, you know, you just got to just deal with it. You got to man up, you got to suck it up. You just got to keep training hard and giving the manager no excuses not to pick you. Because the thing that I struggle with is that why would you jeopardise a team? If you've got a player who can do better than the player you've got in there, just because he can run around and train a lot more, if you've got a player who can do better on the pitch, why would you jeopardise your team? So I kind of couldn't get my head around that, you know, especially when you're hearing the crowds, you know, shouting, get him on, and then you see forums that why isn't Pennant playing, is better than this, is better than that. And it kind of just like, I said, yeah, you ask yourself why? And, you know, you start taking it personal. And then that's when, you kind of start failing off the rails.
Yeah, because, you know, it's interesting to talk to you and get a feel for you as a person, because obviously it's only through the media that we get to know you. So, you know, the electronic tag stuff or not coming through Arsenal, you think something's off. And even like you'll pop up randomly then in a headline because you've left your Porsche at a train station for 5 months in Zaragoza. And you're kind of looking at you from afar going, this entitled, pampered Premier League footballer, what is going on with this fella?
Yeah. Well, half of me, the stuff you shouldn't believe anyway.
Okay.
You know, they're out for themselves, and you know what the media write about me, and actually me in person are two different people. You know, I never left my Porsche, but that's not a story. So they made it into a story. I knew it was there. I just didn't have time to go back because I signed for Stoke City on transfer deadline day. And I had to leave it at the airport, train station to get to the airport. So I didn't really have time to go back. Okay. And I left it there a few months and got a friend to pick it up for me instead. That's, you know, I was finding a place to live, finding my feet at Stoke. We had games, it was winter. So, you know, games come thick and fast. I just didn't really have time.
Yeah, it's a bit different for Gotti had a Porsche.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you know, it's easy. It's very easy to get a bad boy label and be tagged the bad boy. And it's very easy to get that, but it's very difficult to get rid of it. So, you know, the papers will jump on and target you for any slight issue with, you know, there's players out there probably done a lot more than me, but it's not been in the front headlines. It's not had a horrible headline. They've not made it an issue. But like I said, when you've got that label, that bad boy image, it's more of a story.
Yeah. And like, look, geez, we've never met. I don't know you. I wasn't there for your career. So maybe the way of putting the question is, if you had to hold your hands up, you know, and say, I got to take responsibility for X, Y, and Z, what are the things that in a perfect world wouldn't have happened, you could have done better in your career?
Oh, 100%. Like, look, you know, I'm human. I'm young. I didn't have a great background, so the profession, you know, all that wasn't really there. That structure that most kids have with their parents and family. So I didn't really have that. So that was always going to play a part, me growing up, for my childhood. And I would take full responsibility of my mistakes. And, you know, the drink driving, you know, it was my fault. No one else's. I was the one who got in the car. So that's all down to me. And that's probably my biggest regret, them two issues. Because I feel if it wasn't for that, I would have played for England. But obviously having that at the time on your record, you know, it was difficult to get in the England squad. So, and who knows where I could have gone on from if them incidents didn't happen. Maybe I would have stayed at Arsenal and played more. So, yeah, they're probably biggest two regrets of my career in life, the drink driving offence.
I guess life is complicated, you know. We're all a result of the experiences we go through, and it could have easily gone, you know, in a terrible way, and it didn't. Like, you know, we are talking about 350 professional games. We are talking about Champions League final. You know, lots of kind of highs in there as well. So sorry if I'm making it sound like it all went kind of awry. It's a really complicated career in that way. Do you look at it more as you know, I did really well given what a tough place I came from, and 15 years of age, 2 million quid chucked into Arsenal. I actually did really well not to almost kind of blow the whole thing up completely? Or do you feel a bit more, unfulfilled potential maybe, you know, could have been so much better maybe? Where do you fall down on it now? Because you have to live with it.
I feel, you know, I look back on my career and I feel I've had a successful one.
Yeah.
And just from where I came from, that alone is successful. Going in prison, a stint in prison, you know, after that, not many players, if any, you know, ever get the opportunity to go on and do what I did after that. Yeah. You know, so that alone, you know, I've got to, you know, be very thankful and grateful and lucky to come out of prison and then go into play with one of the top 4 clubs in the world, which is probably, you know, if that would happen now, I think it'll be unheard of. So on the back of that, I've got to say, you know, everything happens for a reason. And, you know, I got to play for Liverpool and that was my dream and I fulfilled it. So I've got to say, you know, I've had a good career. And so what's happened to me, where I've been from, I've got to say I'm very lucky and, you know, a successful one. So, you know, can't really be too hard on myself. Yes, things could have been probably a little bit better, but, you know, we all probably could have done better in some way and got on to bigger and better. But, you know, I'm very happy with the way things turn out.
Yeah, no, for sure. What is a Champions League final like to play in? I presume an unbelievable experience.
Oh, it's a great experience. It's not the actual game. It's the old build-up to the final. You know, seeing the fans pour in when you go into the stadium and the noise. You know, the Champions League theme tune. It's just the whole experience, and then only then when as soon as that whistle goes, it's just like another game. But obviously, yeah, it's the more the build-up, and it's the best feeling that a professional footballing club domestic football can get. It's the highest one. So, you know, to say that I've had a taste of playing in the final, you know, again, only the elite English players have probably played in the Champions League final. And like I say, I've done that. So, you know, I can't be too hard on myself again. And, you know, on that front there, it's just I've had a good career. But playing in the Champions League final is a fantastic experience. And, you know, every player will want to do it.
I can imagine. So what does the future hold? Is it more media? Have you given management any thought, or is it all TBC?
Well, not after seeing the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer stick he gets. So I don't think manager's for me.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
It's not. Yeah, it's definitely not easy. I don't think manager would be for me. I think I'll be a good one. I think I'll be a player's manager. But no, it's definitely a tough job, tough ask that. So I enjoy media,
right.
And there's more doors open in that kind of direction. And fingers crossed, I get more opportunities. But I enjoy speaking. I enjoy TV. Obviously, I love football. Got a good knowledge of it. So fingers crossed, I can continue and do well in that.
Okay. Well, listen, Jermaine Pennant, the very best of luck with it. I'm sure you'll do very well. Thanks so much for the time. Really interesting chat, and might check in again sometime. Thanks a million.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Take care.
Thank you. That is Jermaine Pennant, and that was our Paddy Power Special, with thanks to Paddy's week-long session, a monster rollover of betting specials just for Ireland. For information on responsible gambling, visit gamblingcare.ie or dunlewy.net, dunlewy.net.